Hi, and welcome to the Friendship Flow podcast. My name's Katy, and I'll be your host. My hope is to create a space for women entering their wisdom years to learn about friendship from all their own personal experience and create the circle of friends they desire and deserve. I hope to explore this subject with you so that you can explore what friendship means to you in your life. I created a 5-step approach to accomplish just that. 1, self-awareness. 2, connection. 3, boundaries. 4, growth. And 5, joy. Each episode, we will dive deeply into the steps and how to use them. So for today's episode number 17, is what kind of friend are you? So we spend a lot of time thinking about the friends we want, but how often do we stop and ask what kind of friend we actually are? Here are a few friendship styles I've come up with for different sorts of friendships. The initiator or the planner. This is the friend who plans the dinners, sends the texts, organizes the trips, and keeps the connections going. Without the initiator, some friendships might quietly fade, but sometimes the initiator can also feel a little tired, wondering if anybody would reach out if they stopped. So I have this one friend that fits this style to a T. She is so meticulous about being that number one planner. This is one of my friend groups that we hike together. We have a book club. She organizes some workouts and much more. We started running together. That's how I got to know this group of people. Over the years, it's grown, and she has kept the group together. I mean, she is the sole reason we still meet, and we meet often. And I am wondering how that group would change if she stopped doing that. But she takes it on herself, and I'm sure she feels overwhelmed with it sometimes because there's so many moving pieces with so many of us going in different directions and asking her questions about all of the plans. But it's a wonderful thing. The other type of friend that I came up with was the listener. This friend is the one that holds space, lets people feel comfortable sharing with them. They're usually thoughtful, compassionate, and present. But sometimes the listener forgets to share their own struggles. And, they spend so much time holding space for others that sometimes they need that in their lives too. And this one reminds me of several of my friends in my life that I count on when I need to work something out. And then there's the reliable friend, that steady one, the dependable one, supportive, loyal, the one that shows up when things are hard. When things really crash in your life, they're the ones that will just come to the door. You don't have to call them. They may not always be the loudest voice in the room, but their presence is always so grounding. I have a few of these people in my life, and they're my rock. No matter how long it's been since we've connected, I know if something happens in my life and they get wind of it, they reach out immediately. We connect immediately. It's really something that these people that have that quality to always know what people need when they need a soft space to fall. And then there's that easygoing friend. This is the flexible, low maintenance. They really could have any conflicts, but sometimes the easygoing friend holds back their real needs. They just are kind of more of the cheerleader in the group. This friend is important in my life too, because I often need just that lightness of friendship and that, easy going with a little bit of humor. And I have one friend in particular that really fits the bill here. It's funny because I'm 61. I think she's probably, God, 15, 18 years younger than I am. But she pops in on my life often, and it's always with a whirlwind. Do you want to go here? This would be fun. And it's always something outrageous, something that I may not do if I didn't know this person. So that's always a good friend to have. And then the disappearing friend. This is the friend when life, gets busy, work, family responsibilities, whatever the issue. This friend does care deeply, but sometimes disappears for long stretches of times and then just pops back in. Many people can relate to this one, especially in midlife. And I've had many of these over the years, and I love when they pop back up. It's almost like you're not thinking of them for a while, and all of a sudden their presence is so large, and it's a wonderful thing. I love those friends. I hate that they have to disappear sometimes, but, life is hard, and there's a lot of moving pieces in all of our lives. So, yeah, it's a good one. And I'm sure there's a million other styles of friend, but I guess those are the people that in my life I've come across. I'm sure I've come across more, but those are the ones I came up with for this. Because again, we spend so much time thinking about the kind of friends that we want, but we often don't stop and ask ourselves, what kind of friend am I actually being? And that question's been sitting with me, not just who my friends are, but who I am within those friendships. Am I showing up? Am I reaching out? Or am I at times the one who disappears? Because if I'm being honest, I've been all these different types. And as I get older, what I want is what feels simpler, but also more intentional. I want steady people in my life. The kind of friendships where I can sit and talk about anything without any pressure to perform. The kind that feels easy, where I can say what I need to say or say nothing at all and still feel so understood, still feel supported without judgment. And I think the real takeaway is this is the kind of friend I want. Am I willing to be that kind of friend too? I thought this subject would be an easy podcast to pull together, but it was a little bit challenging coming up with good material and talking points. So I started looking out there at what other people were saying about friendship, and I did a bunch of online friendship quizzes some of them were actually pretty cheesy, and they're irritating to me, those online quizzes, because, they give you 5 options or whatever, and none of those feels right, but you have to pick one to finish the quiz. So, but anyways, they all kind of came out with the same sort of answer for me. And it was, in comparison to the things I put as kinds of friendships, the listener. So that's what I tend to be. But I think, in all the groups of friends I have, I seem to play a different role. And I think that probably would land with a lot of us. So in that hiking group I was talking about, this group I see more often maybe than any other group of friends that I have. I don't have to be the planner in that group because there is a type A planner that she's just a rock star at it. So I can lay off of that role. But in other groups that I'm in, I tend to be the planner. And it's kind of nice, I guess, to shift from group to group and take on a different role. I never thought about it that way. I know we change our persona in front of everyone we come across. We're not the same to our family as we are to our friends or to our husband as we might be to another man. And, I think we all understand that, but taking it into groups of friends, I don't think I ever went that far with it and thought that we change our roles. We actually change our role in each particular group, which is interesting. And I think we'll talk more about that at some point. But honestly, that is all I have today about friendship. And I want to remind you that there is also a Substack, that blog that goes along with this podcast, and it kind of recaps and maybe brings up some new material to get even more insight. And as always, follow me on Facebook on my business page, which is Elevated Adventures Yoga, and a lot of fun things coming up there. I have a couple of retreats out, and also paddleboarding will be starting soon. I just scheduled the first paddleboard yoga class. Is going to be May 16th, actually. So check out all the things on that page as well. So I will see you next week for another episode of The Friendship Flow. Thanks, friends.